Hello everyone, welcome to Guidance IAS, and today we are going to cover current affairs for the first week of May. And as our approach has always been, we'll start with polity, and the first topic for polity we have is official language in courts. A very, very important topic. And in this topic, we will be understanding, of course, first the contextual part of it, and then we'll also move forward with the constitutional provisions related to the official languages which are used in the courts. We will also read about the languages used in the Supreme Court, High Court, and also in the subordinate courts. So without wasting any further time, let's just directly get into it. Let us first understand the contextual part of it. So recently what has happened to encourage the use of local language in the court, since a large section of the country's population finds it's difficult to understand the jurisdiction which is happening and the proceedings which are happening in the courts, we have, our government is of the opinion to introduce some of the languages. So what is more important for our examination point of view here is to understand what does the constitutional provisions related to it, or what does the constitution says about it. For that, you need to understand, or you need to look at two different constitutional articles. The first one is Article 348, Clause 1. And the another one is Article 348, again the same article with a different clause, clause number 2, wherein Article 348, Clause 1 of the Constitution says that the Supreme Court will be using, or the High Court for that matter, will be using English as their official language in the proceedings of the Supreme Court, right? So you need to remember this. The language, of course, and if the parliament wants to change it or wants to come up with some different languages as an official language, they can do it. But English will be used as the official language. Second, it talks about that governor has this power. Governor has this power, of course, with the prior consent of the president, कि वो जो चाहे अपने स्टेट में ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज को दर्जा दे सकते हैं, स्पेशली इन द प्रोसीडिंग्स ऑफ द हाई कोर्ट. बट you need to remember that all the decrees or laws or orders shall be passed in English language, right? So the importance of English language here also you can very well understand. So I hope both the articles are clear to you now. Coming back to our slide, apart from both of those constitutional provisions, we have Article 7 also of the Official Languages Act of 1963, which says that it provides that the use of Hindi or official language of the state in addition to the English language may be authorized with the consent of President of India by the governor. This we have already somewhere touched upon. So this was about the language to be used in Supreme Court and High Court. I'm talking about the official language. But there's one thing I want all of you to understand here. We have been using this term official language. So you must understand that there is a difference between national language and official language. Right? What's that difference? The difference is national language, actually, it basically, we use this for the social or for the cultural purposes. If I summarize it in a very simple manner, we generally use it for the culture, for the social and for the cultural purposes, wherein when we talk about official languages, we use it for the government business, right? For the government businesses. So this is the major difference you can remember whenever you read anything about national language or the official language. All right. Coming back, now that we have understood things about Supreme Court and High Court, how both the languages are important, we must also understand the language which is used in subordinate courts, as they are also really important. So the language of the courts subordinate to the High Court generally remains the same. So this you need to remember. The language of the subordinate courts, they generally remains the same as the language on the commencement of the CRPC 1908 till the state government determines. And there, when we were talking about the Supreme Court, it was dependent upon the Parliament, which means if Parliament wants to change it, it can do it. And here, if the governor or the state government wants to change it, especially the state government only, basically, state government wants to have some other alternatives, they can definitely do it. So the state government has this power to declare any regional language as an alternative language to the official languages of our country. All right? So that was all about official language. Now, next topic we have is mercy plea. All right, so here again, first let's see what the context is all about. But then what is more important for us to understand here is to know in detail about Article 72 and Article number 161, wherein both the articles deals with the some of the powers which are present with the president and the governor. We will deal with them in detail, don't worry. But first let us see what does the context say. Recently, we know that the Supreme Court has advised the Union government to release the convict of the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, as he already served a sentence more than 3 decades. So this was a context जो काफी time से चलता आ रहा है. What is more important here for us, for our examination perspective, is to understand Article 161 and 72. Okay, and a difference between them. क्या ये powers हैं, क्या powers grant है president को और governor को under Article 72 and 161 respectively, and what are the differences in the powers they hold, right? Then we will also see what is the significance of these pardoning power. But first, let us try and understand Article 72 and 161. For this, I want all of you to pay attention here. This clause deals with Article 72, which grants, gives some powers to the president of our country, and 161 gives power to the governor of our country. What happens in Article number 72, or what are the powers which our honorable president has? So the first power is he can pardon, reprieve, respite, remit, suspend, or commute the punishment. I want again all of you to understand the meaning of these words as well. For that, you need to look here. Pardon, which means that there should be a completely the convict should be set completely free. And commutation, अगर किसी भी tough punishment को हम lighter punishment में convert कर दे, we call it as commutation. And if we talk about remission is basically reducing the period without changing the character of the punishment, which means अगर किसी को भी, if the punishment is of 5 years and we convert it into 3 years, that would be changing the period of the punishment without changing the character of the punishment, right? But commutation mein we change the character of the punishment. This is the difference you need to remember between commutation and remission, right? Next is respite. Respite, what we do in respite basically is a lesser sentence in place of the original one which was given to the convict. The last one is reprieve. What happens in reprieve, that in reprieve there is a stay on the execution, especially if there is a death sentence given, we put a stay when it comes to reprieve, right? So these are the powers our honorable president has, right, of any person convicted of offense against a central law. So this you need to remember. This is again a difference between Article 72 and 161, wherein 72 deals with the central law, and 161, since it belongs to governor also, it deals with the state law, right? So constitutional provisions के साथ साथ आप difference भी एक बारी ध्यान रखते चले जाइए. Next we have is the president can pardon, reprieve, respite, remit, suspend, or commute a death sentence. So this you must remember and underline here, that he can do all of this with a death sentence. He is the only authority. He is the only authority. Only word is to be noted here. He is the only authority to pardon a death sentence, wherein if we talk about the governor on the another side, he cannot pardon the death sentence. And this is the major difference between both the bodies, right? Even if the state law prescribed for a death sentence, the power to grant pardon lies with the president only, not with the governor. But the governor can suspend, remit, or commute a death sentence, but cannot pardon, right? Cannot set the convict completely free, right? Next difference is that the president can grant a pardon, reprieve, respite, some suspension, remission, or commutation in respect to the punishment or sentence by the court martial. ठीक है, court martial के cases में भी the power lies with the president, not with the governor. So governor does not have any such power. So these are the major differences between the two articles, and also the meaning of the two articles, which is article number 62 and 171 respectively. All right. Chaliye, moving back to our slide. So as I was telling you that we will also be covering the significance of these powers. So significance dekh lete hain. The first significant and the first importance of these power is it corrects the error of the judiciary. Error means if some innocent person, suppose, if some innocent person is there, he will have the power, or he will have, a chance, not the power, he will have a chance to repeal, or you can say, he will have one more chance to prove his innocence, right? Second would be the pardon may be substantially help in, maybe of very, help. It will be of help in saving the innocent person. Again, it means the same only. The third would be the object of the pardoning power is to correct the possible judicial errors, which is a high possibility. Errors are always possible. For no human system of judicial administration can be free from imperfections. As I've told you, errors are very much, they're humanly possible. So to reduce any such error, because this is such a sensitive thing, so we must give the convict a chance to prove their innocence again. So this chance must be given, and this is precisely the significance of these pardoning powers granted in our constitution. All right. So yeah, moving ahead with the next topic. It is a very sensitive and very debatable topic going on these days. It talks about national language, a debate on the national language. You all must have heard of the debate going between these two stars. Today we will not be going what the debate these people are having, but we will be dealing with the constitutional aspects of the national language. What are the what exactly our constitution says about the national language, and yeah, and how is it important for our examination perspective. So recently, as I've told you, this debate has been going on, right? Finally, then the next question, or the first question arises in this topic. The first question which will come to anybody's mind would be, is Hindi our national language? And the answer to this is no. Our constitution does not mention it. There is कहीं भी ये नहीं लिखा हुआ है that Hindi is our national language. So you first need to clarify this. So the Constitution of India has not given any language as the national status. So there is no language. It's not that just the Hindi is not a national language. No other language is a national language. Yes, we do have official languages, but national language is different, as we have already discussed the differences also between national language and official language, right? What is the status of Hindi then, right? And what are the constitutional provisions? Actually, there are so many constitutional provisions which talks about national language, or which deals about national language. One by one, we will cover each and every, each one of them. So the first one, national language, like I've told you, national language. There are so many provisions in our constitution which deals with national language. The first one is article number 120. Article number 120, which talks about the language used in the parliament. Right? If you want, you can just jot them down. I'm going to list down all the important provisions of the constitution which deals with the national language of our country. Then we have article number 210, which deals with the language to be used in legislature, right? And then we have articles which starts from 343 343 is mentioned here as well. You can have a look at this. 343 of the Constitution says the official language of the Union shall be Hindi in the Devanagari script. So it talks about Hindi being a national, official language in a Devanagari script. Apart from this, if we go back, Article number 344 also talks about a national language, wherein it provides for the constitution of a commission by president on expiry of 5 years from the commencement of the constitution and thereafter after the expiry of 10 years, right? तो एक बारी 5 साल के बाद commission बनेगा to look into the matter of official languages, and thereafter after 10 years, right, from the commencement of the constitution. Then we have Article 345, 346, 347, 348, 349, 350, right? All of them deals with deals with the national language. Article number 350 and 351. These two articles are important, so I'm going to tell you I mean, briefly, I'm going to cover both of these articles, which is Article 350 and 351. 350 talks about the language used for the redressal of grievances. So suppose if there is a person और उनको कोई complain करानी है, ठीक है, he has the right कि वो अपने state language में जाके complain करा के आ सकता है, and now that then it will be the responsibility of the authorities to understand that local language. तो ये state के लोगों के पास ये एक right है that whatever language they're comfortable with or whatever language they know, they can go and register the complaint in that particular language, and then it will be the authorities' responsibility to address the complaint and to understand the language, right? Then we have Article number 351. Article 351, what does this say? That it is the union government's duty to promote the Hindi language, or you can say to promote the spread of Hindi language. So it is the union government's duty to promote the spread of Hindi language, and you all must have witnessed that our so many, I mean, political leaders, they use Hindi language or they try to spread this Hindi language. So they're not doing anything wrong, because it is mentioned in our constitution that it is the duty of union government to spread the use of Hindi language. So these were some of the provisions which are related to language, national language, the debate of national language. Now, the question arises ki, okay, our constitution has so much to say about national language, but then why there is so much of opposition when it comes to national language, and why is it a very, very sensitive topic when we talk about national language? So the opposition starts with actually what happened in 1963. Actually, before that, when after the commencement of our constitution said that till 15 years we'll be using English as official language along with Hindi, and then after 15 years we will see like Parliament was supposed to decide upon the usage of which language, I mean which language should be used. So it should be done by the Parliament after 15 years. So 15 years was the period, right? Okay. Then what happened after that? What happened after 15 years? If you remember, in 1959, when Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of our country, he also said in this at this time, he also said that like he also repeated and he also assured that English would be there. English is not going anywhere. It will be used along with Hindi as the official languages, and it was a big relief for the South Indian people, especially because they are really comfortable with English. And Jawaharlal Nehru also said that it will not just be official language. It will also be a language for the communication with the southern states, right, as they're comfortable in it. Okay. Now, but what you must ask then, what is the opposition? What is this debate? This debate actually started with the Official Language Act of 1963, wherein it did not explicitly, this is the term you need to underline, that 1963 का जो Official Language Act आया, उसने explicitly, जैसे जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी ने बोला कि English will be there, but this act did not explicitly incorporate this assurance, right, that English will be there. This act did not assure this, and which caused apprehensions in some states as the January 65 deadline neared, and then finally 1965 mein, if you remember, the protest began in many southern states, especially Tamil Nadu, right? So the protest began, and this was basically the opposition. This was the main opposition when it comes to the national language. If we talk about some statistics, so around 43% of Indians speak Hindi language, and even in that, because there are many dialects of the Hindi language, so even in that, in Hindi language, Bhojpuri comes as one of the dialects, then Rajasthani also comes, then Magadhi also comes, then Haryanvi also comes. These are some of the dialects of Hindi language which you must remember. But this figure you can remember that 43% of the Indians speak Hindi language, and uske baad Bengali is the second, like mostly used language. Then comes Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Gujarati, Urdu, and then others. So you can remember some of the points. Right? Okay. Now, the question is imposing the Hindi language. So, if we impose Hindi language as the national language, what could be, you can say, what could be the impacts of it? What could be the probable effects of imposing the Hindi language? First, it can affect the learning ability of the Hindi speakers, thereby affecting their self confidence, right? तो known Hindi speakers को ये काफ़ी impact करने वाला है, as of course they will not be able to put their demands forward, they will not be able to put their grievances forward, they will not be able to put anything, and it will not be really comfortable for them to stand up and speak. Okay, so that language barrier would be created if we impose it. Okay, so this language barrier would be created, and I personally feel that we must avoid it. This language barrier shouldn't be there in the northern and southern parts of our country because we are one. Second is, it can also threaten other languages and reduce the diversity. Again, we are such a diverse country, and it is our responsibility to cherish this diversity instead of harming it in any way. It could also threaten the diversity and federalism in India. Okay, so there is another question which arises here, that what is this 3-language formula? It is also related with the national language only, but what is it? So if you remember, since 1960s, let me just take you to another page. In 1960s, since 1960s you can say, in government's education policy document, it is said that 3-language formula will be there. Now, what is this 3-language formula? It says that Hindi plus English plus any regional language would be used as the official language in Hindi speaking states. Right? Hindi speaking states. Okay? And then Hindi plus English plus one official regional language will be used in other states other than the Hindi speaking states, right? So this was the 3-language formula. As you can see here, mother tongue or a regional language would be the first language, second is Hindi, and third would be the modern language or the English, right? See, to conclude this entire debate, I just want to conclude it by saying just one thing, that whatever laws we have or whatever laws we will have in future, everything and all the laws must be must be framed keeping in mind that we are one as a country, be in a matter of language or be in a matter of religion, again, which is again, a very sensitive topic these days. We all are aware of it, right? So everything, all of it should be framed keeping in mind that we are one as a country, right? So this was about the debate of national language. Up next we have Lokpal. So Lokpal recently got a permanent office at World Trade Center in New Delhi. For our examination perspective, again, important is to understand some of the provisions, its jurisdiction and its power, the powers of the Lokpal. So the first is to understand the historical background only of Lokpal. And yeah, so it started in, it came up by the Act of Lokpal Act 2013, wherein the Act allows setting up of anti-corruption ombudsman called Lokpal at the center, and we call it Lokayukt at the state. If we talk about the composition, the Lokpal will consist of a chairperson and maximum of 8 members, and this is again a factual point you must remember, right? They can ask you in your prelims examination. Now if you talk about the jurisdiction of the powers of the Lokpal actually can inquire into the allegation of corruption against anyone who is or has been the prime minister. So this again is the point you have to remember. They can confuse you with these kind of options. So who is or has been the prime minister of our country, or the minister in the union government, or a MP, which is member of parliament, as well as the officials of the union government under the group A, B, C and D. And not just this, if there is any chairperson, or member, right, belonging to any board or trust which got established under what? Under any act of parliament, and not just act of parliament, if that body is you can say fully or partially owned by Government of India, or you can say center, will come under the jurisdiction of Lokpal, right? So this is again one of the jurisdiction of Lokpal. If we talk about the powers of Lokpal, if we talk about the powers of Lokpal, again, the powers, for this you need to have a look at this. So this is basically the Lokpal and Lokayukt bill of 2011, certain amendments. What are the amendments which were accepted and what were the amendments which got rejected? We'll be reading them. So some of the recommendations which came in 2011 were the disqualification for becoming a member of Lokpal. The words connected with any political party may be replaced by the word affiliated with any political party, और इसको हमने accept कर लिया था. When the talk started about the composition, so composition of selection committee for the selection of Lokpal, 5th member of the committee, that is eminent jurist, may be nominated by the president on the basis of recommendation of the first 4 members, and this was also been accepted. Now, next is Lokpal should be given the power to order and investigate straightway without any preliminary inquiry in case the Lokpal finds कि prima facie उनको लग रहा है कि this case exists, तो like there is no need of any preliminary inquiry. और हमारे जो पहले Lokpal थे, he was PC Ghosh, right? 2019 में got he got his place, PC Ghosh, Pinaki Chandra Ghosh, right? Okay, apart from this, seeking of comments from public servant during a preliminary inquiry should not be mandatory, and this was not accepted. Okay. Now, if we talk about the powers to grant sanctions to the Lokpal, so for the prosecution of public servant, so this could be shifted to the Lokpal in place of government, and Lokpal may be required to seek the comments of the competent authority and the public servant before taking such decisions, right? And a number of amendments to strengthen the CBI also were there in place. So this also you can remember, right? So be it CBI or PM or the previous prime ministers, the power and the jurisdiction, the Lokpal has the jurisdiction and the power to investigate or to inquire them also, right? All right. So this was about Lokpal. Up next we have Press Freedom Index. जितने भी indexes होते हैं are really important, especially for a prelims examination. You must have a list of them wherein एक side पे all the indices should be there. On the another side, all the bodies who releases them should be there, should be mentioned. And the third point also you must include while you're making your notes, which should be that if there is any important thing, if there is any important point regarding that particular indices should be present in your notes. Okay. And if there is anything which is there with respect to India mentioned there in that particular indice or indices, you must make a note of it. So who releases it? World Press Freedom Index, recently published by Reporters Without Borders. Okay? So this is one factual point you need to remember. If we talk about World Press Freedom Index, so this is based in Paris, okay, and is an NGO with a consultative status with the United Nations, UNESCO, the Council of Europe, and the International Organization of Francophonie. ठीक है? If we talk about certain indicators जिनके basis पे ये index हम निकालते हैं, so those indicators are, there are few indicators which you can keep in mind. Those indicators are political context. First is political context. Then we have legal framework, जिसके basis पे we find out if there is how much freedom is there, the press freedom is there in a particular country. Then we have economic context. Then social cultural context is also viewed when we calculate the press freedom index. And definitely lastly safety is also considered, right? Now again the performance in India, like I've told you कि India के perspective से अगर कोई ranking या कुछ भी कोई भी important point is mentioned in that particular topic, you have to take a note of it. So performance of India has fallen 8 places again, which is to be, you know, which is really which is something to be concerned about. We have fallen 8 places from 142 to 150 in 2020. And if we talk about India's neighbor, because again, comparison also sometimes becomes important for examination, and even otherwise, I feel this is very normal. We should compare it with our neighboring countries at least. So if we talk about Nepal has climbed up by 30 points in the global ranking at 76th position. So Nepal is ahead us. Then we have index placed Pakistan at 157th position, Sri Lanka at 146th position, Bangladesh 162, Myanmar at 176th position, and China was ranked at 175th position when it comes to press freedom index. So that is all. Just you know, you can have just have a little bit of idea about them. You don't have to really remember all the rankings of all the neighboring states. India का आप याद रखें, उतना काफ़ी है. Next up, we have a very important topic, Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. A really important topic. काफ़ी time से चल रहा है. It's like a evergreen topic now. काफ़ी time से है ये news में. Hence, it becomes very important for our examination too. First, we'll try and understand the contextual part of it, and then what is more important again to understand the static portion of it, wherein we'll see the historical background, the present thing. We'll also read about NRC and Assam Accord, right? So let's just start. Recently, our Home Minister has repeated the Citizenship Amendment Act would be implemented once COVID pandemic ends. So this is again, this stays in news and a very controversial topic. We'll be dealing with each and every aspect of this topic, the positives or the negatives, and of course, our major focus would be to deal with the aspects which are important for our examination, right? Okay. About the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. For this, to understand this particular topic, you need to go back to 1955. You need to go back to the 1955. Before 1955, you must know that there are the citizenship, basically it is mentioned at two places. First is the constitution of our country, second is the Citizenship Amendment Act of 1955. First is Citizenship Amendment Act of 1955, and second is Constitution of our country, right? Constitution of our country. Today, in our today's lecture, this topic is not, this portion is not important. Only the Citizenship Amendment Act of 1955 is important, as it deals with the granting of citizenship to to people after 1950s. तो 1950s के बाद वाली ग्रांट्स के बारे में ये बात करता है, सिटीजनशिप के एक्वायर के लिए बात करता है. हम आज इसी के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. दिस इज ओनली इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. Citizenship Amendment Act, I'll say, of 1955. Right? For this, and to understand Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2019, you first must understand 55 वाला बिल क्या था, and then हम उसके distinctions पढ़ेंगे ताकि दोनों चीज़ें अच्छे से समझ आ जाएं. 55 and what happened in 2019 recently. 55 में actually the definition of illegal migrants were different from that of 2019. 1955 वाला act क्या कहता है? It says if any person comes in our country without, or you can say with incomplete travel documents, will be considered as illegal migrant, right? This was the first condition. Second condition, which was written in Act of 1955, says, it says if anyone or if any person stays in India more than the permitted limit. Suppose कोई इंडिया में आया है, उसको 5 साल रहने का परमिट मिला है, बट ही स्टेज फॉर 6 years or 7 years, will be considered as illegal migrant. So all these things were defined in 1955. अभी चेंज क्या हुआ है 2019 में? This is important for us. इस डेफिनेशन को चेंज कर दिया गया है, इलीगल माइग्रेंट की डेफिनेशन को चेंज कर दिया गया है. नाउ दिस सेज कि 2014, actually December 2014 was the date which is given. Now अब क्या हो गया है कि December 24 से, before December 2014, before December 2014 अगर आप इंडिया में आए हो, ठीक है, and if you belong to these 3 countries, and in 3 countries maybe if you belong to these specific religion, you will not be considered as illegal migrant. ठीक है, तो अभी जो पहले वाला clause था, which was mentioned in 1955, has been removed. Abhi 2014 is the date which our government is considering. And what are those 3 countries jahan se hum illegal migrants abhi consider nahi kar rahe hain? If they have come here before 2014, those 3 countries are Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. And even in those 3 countries, there are 6 religion, which is Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Buddhist, Parsis and Christian. These are the persecuted minorities, minorities of these 3 countries. तो अगर इन 3 countries में 2014 से पहले कोई भी हमारे country में आया है, will not be now considered as illegal migrant. Doesn't matter, I mean irrespective of किस route से आप आए हैं, किस तरीके से आप आए हैं, you will not be considered as illegal migrant. Alright, so next thing, हाँ जी, next चीज़ है, थोड़ा सा हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड हम जान लेते हैं माइग्रेशन के लिए, ठीक है, कि माइग्रेशन कब से कब तक हुआ, माइग्रेशन कैसे बहुत टाइम से चलता आ रहा है. माइग्रेशन एक्चुअली हमने काफ़ी टाइम से हम विटनेस कर रहे हैं. वी हैव विटनेस अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ माइग्रेशन इन 1947 also when India and Pakistan partition happened. So crores of people, you know, they got exchanged from one country to another while this. Then the second migration, or the second time we witnessed migration in 1959 to 1960 when annexation of Tibet happened by China. 1959 to 60 when annexation of Tibet happened by China. So Tibetan people migrated to our country. Then the third migration, a huge, a bigger, you know, migration I'm talking about, we witnessed was in the year of 1979, when Soviet and Afghan war happened. So Afghanis ne migrate kiya tha in our country, right? So these are the three migrations we witnessed till 1979. After that, another one was 1980 and 2000. 1980 say 2000, these 20 years we saw migration from Sri Lanka to India when Sri Lankan civil war was happening. And the coincidental part is that it is still happening, the civil war of Sri Lanka, it is still continuing. But anyways, so it happened in these 20 years wherein Sri Lankan Tamils migrated to India. So this was again something which is to be noted. Then lastly, 2015 to 2017, 2015 to 2017, Rohingyas of Myanmar migrated to India, and that this topic was also in news at that time, especially so much. I mean, this is also we all must have read about it. We all must are aware of it. अगर आपको शायद इन सब के बारे में नहीं पता होगा, but I'm sure you all must have heard and read about Myanmar Rohingyas, right, and their migration to our country. All right. So this is little bit of historical background I wanted to tell you. Now the next question arises is, what is the issue which is present in this bill of 2019? There is definitely an issue, and for that I want all of you to have a look at this northeastern map, especially Assam, right? So it was the year 1920s, you need to remember. 1920s, around 1920s, so much of, you know, riots and violations and violence, I mean, started taking place in our country, all over the country. And during this time only, you will witness that East Bengal ke bahut sare log started migrating to northeastern part of our country, especially in Assam, right? ग्रेजुअली क्या हुआ कि असम के लोगों की पॉपुलेशन कम हो गई एंड जो रेफ्यूजीज थे उनकी पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज हो गई, और इसी की वजह से द स्टूडेंट, स्पेशली द स्टूडेंट लीडर्स ऑफ असम, दे स्टार्टेड प्रोटेस्टिंग अगेंस्ट इट. ओके, सो दे स्टार्टेड प्रोटेस्टिंग अगेंस्ट इट, एंड दिस इज वी कॉल एज असम आंदोलन, राइट, which ended in 1959, और इसी असम आंदोलन का रिजल्ट है असम अकॉर्ड. I hope the entire scenario is clear to you now. Let me just repeat it for you. It's very simple. 1920s you have to remember, wherein East Bengal say migration started to the northeastern part of our country, especially in Assam, jiski wajah se the local population of Assam started decreasing and the refugees started increasing. They started using the resources of Assam, which was definitely not liked by the Assamese or the northeastern people. They started protesting against it, and as a result of that protest, the government came up with 1985 Assam Accords. Now, what is Assam Accords and what are the provisions of Assam Accord? So, Assam Accord 1985, it says that any person who has come to Northeast or Assam before again, there is a date prescribed in Assam Accord, which you have to remember, before 24th December 1971. Okay, I'm not sure. You just kindly check this. This is not December. This is March. So, if you have come to Assam before 24 March 1971, it is fine. But if you have come after this date, you will be considered as illegal migrant or illegal immigrants, irrespective of what religion you hold, irrespective of what caste you hold, irrespective of from which country you have migrated. Does not matter. Agar aap is date ke baad aaye ho, you will be considered as illegal migrant. Now you must be wondering that this accord is in conflict with the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2019. Yes, you're right. It is in conflict because Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2019 gives a date of 2014. ठीक है? December 2014. So this was talking about 71 and this is talking about 2014. That is why it remains in controversies and remains in news and is very important for our examination too, because of this reason only. Now coming back to this thing, coming back to our slide, to objectify this thing, Assam Accord, since Assam Accord came in 1985, तो इसी चीज़ को fulfill करने के लिए NRC also came, which is National Register of Citizens, जिसमें you all must be remembered that you all must know that 19 lakh लोगों को migrate करके आए हैं, ऐसा बोल दिया गया था. It was very much in news असम के perspective से. So this was about just a brief about NRC and Assam Accord. So yeah, I hope the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2019 and its differences with the Act of 1955 is clear to you now. Moving ahead with our next topic, which is President's Rule. President's Rule, again, President's Rule के लिए भी, see, there are certain topics जहाँ पर context हमारे लिए काफ़ी important होता है, but at the same time there are topics wherein to understand the constitutional provisions and the constitutional part is very important for us. And President's Rule is one such topic wherein जहाँ पर आपको constitutional provision समझने की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. Context is Union Home Minister has ruled out the possibility of President Rule in some of the states, and it keeps happening, right? It keeps happening every now and then कि कहीं पर President Rule लग रहा है, कहीं पर नहीं लगा है, and all those controversies and debates keeps happening. But हमारे लिए important है to understand the constitutional provisions behind it. For that, today I want all of you not just to go through this President's Rule, but I want to take you to the emergency provisions, some of the important emergency provisions which comes under Article 352 to 360, right? Actually, there are three types we majorly divide the emergency provisions into. The first is Article 352, second would be Article 356, and then we have Article 360, right? 352 deals with the national emergency, 356 deals with the President's Rule or the constitutional emergency, and Article number 360 deals with the financial emergency. हालांकि वो कभी लगी नहीं है, but again it is important for us to read it. As I've told you, 352 is national emergency. The next question which might come to your mind is, what are the bases of its imposition? ये लगती कैसे है? So the basis of its imposition is what? Is war or external aggression or armed rebellion. Armed rebellion, you must be knowing कि इस word को हमने 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978 के through हम लाए हैं. Before this armed rebellion, before this term, we had internal disturbance in place, but internal disturbance was a vague word. So to give it more clarity, we came up with a new word which is armed rebellion through 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. All right. 356 deals with the President's Rule, which is our today's topic, is as well, and we also call it constitutional emergency. Right? Now, again, the next question is that what is the basis to impose it, or what are the grounds to impose the president's rule in our country? For that, you need to understand, for that, you need to see two articles, article number 356 itself and article number 365. So these are the two grounds of imposition of president's rule. What does article 356 says? 356 says that president can impose the president's rule when he feels कि state जो है is unable to work in accordance with the constitution of our country. Right? So if he feels कि constitutional machinery का ब्रेक डाउन हुआ है, या स्टेट्स जो हैं वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के हिसाब से दे आर नॉट वर्किंग, और दे आर नॉट वर्किंग इन अकॉर्डेंस विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, प्रेसिडेंट can impose article 356. Then what about article 365? 365 says that president can impose this president's rule when he feels or is satisfied that state is not following the directions given by the center, right? Not following the directions given by center. तो इन दोनों ही कंडीशन में प्रेसिडेंट हैज द पावर टू इम्पोज दिस. राइट? फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी, 360 is financial emergency. Again, note that much, not so important. We'll stick to our today's topic. I hope ये दोनों grounds आपको clear हैं. My only reason to write this big was this only, to make you understand about these two provisions, which is Article 356 and 365 respectively. Okay? Moving back to our slide. So since we have done with what is president's rule in Indian context, the next question here is what is the parliamentary approval which is needed. So parliamentary approval is 6 months at a time. So 6 महीने की आप emergency एक बारी में लगा सकते हो. It can also be extended up to 3 years. So 3 years is the maximum limit जो आप president's rule लगाने का. But you can't just put emergency for continuously for 3 years. You need to have what? You need to have permission every 6 months. Right? If you get the permission every 6 months, you need to revise it for every 6 months. If you have to extend it till 3 years, you can do it, but हर 6 महीने में permission आपको लेना पड़ेगा for the imposition of president's rule. Right? Now, there is another question I want all of you to focus upon. It is, you can say, scope of judicial review or judicial scrutiny, whatever you call it, judicial scrutiny. For that, again, there is a distinction. आपको ये चीज़ पढ़नी पड़ेगी. And for this, you need to understand two provisions of the Constitution. One is mentioned in 38th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1975, and other was mentioned in 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. 38th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1975. This is Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, this is not the article number 38, right? So this is 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, right? What happened in 38th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1975? The Supreme Court gave this decision that president का जो satisfaction है to impose the president's rule will not come under judicial review or judicial scrutiny, you can say. Right? So president had this absolute or the discretionary power, you can say, right? But this got amended in in 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, wherein it says that the president, this power of the president is not beyond the judicial review. It does come under the, it comes under the judicial review or the judicial scrutiny. Okay? So this difference also you can remember for your better clarity when we talk about the scope of the judicial review pertaining to the president's rule in our country. All right, coming back to our slide. So yeah, these were some of the questions which I wanted you to deal with. This is just a revision of what I've told you. So just to quickly revise, let me just read it out for you. First is how is it imposed? If there is a constitutional, if there is a failure of the constitutional machinery, which was mentioned in article number 356, we have already dealt with. And if there is, you know, if a state legislature is unable to function, it's the same only basically. Article 356 we have dealt with. Article 365 bhi humne padha hai, wherein it says that if the state does not adhere to the directions given by the center, there is, you know, the president's rule could be imposed there, and the duration is 6 months and the maximum is 3 years, but har 6 mahine you need to have the parliamentary approval for it to get extended, right? Then termination, if we talk about it, the termination can be done by the president only anytime he deems fit. So जब उनको लगता है that this is the time to terminate it, he can terminate the president's rule. And there is one thing you need to remember here, that whenever he feels to terminate the president's rule, he does not need the parliament's approval. So while imposing it, he needs, but if he feels like terminating the emergency, he does not need any parliamentary approval. This is the difference. So 44th Constitutional Amendment Act में जो आया था वो हम पढ़ चुके हैं. So that was all about President's Rule. Up next we have FSSAI star rating. FSSAI we know is a autonomous body of our country which got established in 2006 under FSSA, Food Safety Security you know, Authority of India. This body got established under FSSA Act of 2006. Autonomous body है ये. इसी ने recently they have come up with a new you can say a system called HSR, or health star rating system. What exactly the system is all about, what was the need for it, and why is it being opposed? These are the 3 questions we will be dealing with in this particular segment. So the first thing is, what exactly is health star rating system? It is basically what FSSAI will be doing in this, that they will be giving half to 5 stars to a particular product, you can say. ठीक है, किसी भी particular food product को ये वो star rating देने वाले हैं, ठीक है, in its draft regulation for the front of package labeling, which is FOPL. तो वो अपने packet के किसी भी front side में they will be mentioning the ratings they have prescribed for particular food product. But what was the need for it? See, there was a huge need for this. I'll tell you how. Because India has a burden of non-communicable diseases, which is, you know, which is around 5.87 million, or the 60%, which holds for the 60% of the deaths around the, you know, year, right? So काफी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत थी. So, and also to encourage our people to use more, you know, you can say health conscious, to make them little more health conscious, to help them in making better choices when it comes to eating food. Okay? So that is why it was highly needed. Also, how is it done? How are they going to do it? So basically, they are going to analyze the content of salt or sugar or fat or whatever present, the ingredients present in the food package, और उसी के basis पे they will be packet के front side में half to 5 star वो उस particular packet को देने वाले हैं. And again, it will help us, the consumer, to choose our food wisely and in a better way. All right, but why is it opposed? See, some expert opposed the use of this model in India. Why? Because they said that the consumer right might tend to take this as an affirmation of the health benefits rather than a negative warning of its ill effects. And second is there will be an impact on sale. There are so many organizations which have come up in against this, because there will be a great impact on their sale, right? Sale of their food products. Okay, so this was about health star rating. Next topic belongs to social justice, which is under trials in India. Again, an evergreen topic. Every year it remains in news, because this is really a big problem in our country, under trials in India. Today, apart from analyzing the context, we'll also see some of the statistics of under trials in our country. So let's just start. The context is our Prime Minister recently pitched for early release of 3.5 lakh under trials prisoners, क्योंकि काफ़ी human rights का violation उनका वहाँ पर होता है. So this was the plea. This was pitched by our Prime Minister. But why is it needed? It is needed because as much as 76% of the inmates are under trials, which is the highest of 25 years, and these are the poor people, Dalits, poverty stricken. तो जो भी disadvantageous group हैं, they only form majority of the under trials in our country, right? So this is one of the reasons that it is very much needed at this point of time. Next question comes, okay, all these things are there, but what are the reasons for the delay in justice? Why the justice is not happening on time? So reasons for delay in justice. First reason for the delay of under trials would be, the first reason would be that they are overburdened. If we talk about our judiciary is overburdened with the under trial cases, and not just the under trial cases, but overall our judiciary is overburdened with the cases, and that is why this is one of the reasons that they are unable to give the judgment for the under trials or for the section जिनको काफ़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है for the judgment. That is why they are unable to give this. Second reason, when we talk about the delay in justice when it comes to under trials in our country, would be the police and the prisoner officials often fail to fulfill their roles. So the police and the officials which are working as prison officials, they also sometimes doesn't do their duty on time, which leads to the delay in justice when it comes to under trials in our country. The third reason would be that under trials from disadvantageous social groups are there, and we know that under Article 21 ensures the speedy and fair trials as a matter of right to life, right? It is mentioned in Article 29, Article 21, which ensures right to life, that speedy and fair justice should be delivered to the convicts, right? But we have seen that it is not really getting implemented on time, especially. And it is well said that justice delayed is justice denied. So if they're not getting the justice done on time, it is really sometimes is of no use. So these are some of the reasons why there is a delay in the justice, right? What needs to be done could be the next question. What needs to be done? The first thing, I feel that all the stakeholders who are involved in this process, be it judiciary, be it police, be it the prisoners official, or anybody, the policy makers, of course, all the stakeholders should come together and they should make an integrated approach so that the justice is delivered on time, right? This, I think, is the major lacuna where we are lacking and should be done on time. Now, as I was telling you that we will be dealing with certain statistics of under trials in our country. First, let us see, before moving to the under trial number of under trial prisoners, first let us see the prisoners' occupancy rate. Occupancy rate का मतलब होता है number of inmates staying in jails against the authorized capacity फॉर 100 इनमेट्स, तो उसको हम ऑक्यूपेंसी रेट बोलते हैं, राइट? इंडिया का जो एवरेज ऑक्यूपेंसी रेट है इज 118 और उससे ज़्यादा ही इट इज़ प्रेजेंट इन सो मेनी स्टेट्स, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल यूपी में इट इज़ 177, Uttarakhand it is 168.6, Delhi it is 159.5, and when we talk about the number of under trial prisoners, we will see a trend, and this trend you need to remember because UPSC has a habit of asking the trends also. तो ये trend आपको याद रखना है, and you can see the trend is increasing from 2018 to 2020. The number of under trials has increased in our country, right? And number of prisons, if you see, again this also you need to remember, number of prisons if you see has decreased. So can you imagine if you compare these two datas, the number of prisons are decreasing and the number of under trials are increasing, right? So there is a high mismatch in these two things which should be bridged, right? If we talk about a data which was given by NCRB, National Crime this bureau, it says 2016 में they gave this report which highlights that at the end of the 2016 the 60 जितने भी लोग हैं inside the prison, उसमें से 68% would be under trials, and this was the data of 2016. अभी तो I'm sure ये और भी ज़्यादा increase हो गया होगा. So this is something which you need to remember, again a factual point and a very concerning point, I would say. This suggests that high proportion of the under trials in the overall prison population may be the result of unnecessary arrest and ineffective legal aid during the remand hearings, right? So that is all about under trials. Up next we have a next topic, SEPA, India and UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, International Relations के कुछ topics अभी हम deal करेंगे. So in this topic we will be dealing with three things, ठीक है? First we will try and understand the relationship India and UAE holds, ठीक है? ये इन दोनों की relationship समझेंगे. Then we will see that what exactly this SEPA is all about, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement होता क्या है, and then finally we will also touch upon the mapping portion wherein we will see the position of UAE and some water bodies with respect to our countries, right? So first thing first, the relationship between India and UAE, it actually, the deep-rooted relationship between India and UAE started in 2015 when our Honorable Prime Minister visited UAE in 2015. If we talk about the trade aspects between both the countries, so UAE is the second largest export destination or the country when it comes to trade partners to India, right? और इस trade agreement को sign करने के बाद we are and these type of trade agreements actually are really important for the trade of both the countries. And UAE की अगर हम specifically बात करें, UAE is a really important country when it comes to petroleum reserves, the trade in the petroleum reserves, right? They hold this petroleum reserves in their country, and that is why it becomes all the more important for our country to have better relationship with UAE, right? So what exactly, the next question comes at what exactly this SEPA is, or Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So this is basically a kind of a FTA. FTA is free trade agreement जहाँ पर दो countries या कुछ countries trade barriers को reduce करने की कोशिश करते हैं. They basically try to encourage or boost the trade between themselves, right? And what exactly is going to happen after this deal between India and UAE? The present trade which we have with UAE is around $59 billion, right? और इस डील को साइन करने के बाद वी आर अज्यूमिंग कि हमारा ट्रेड जो है वो जंप करेगा टू $100 billion in next 5 years. So you can imagine how important this trade deal is for us, right? If we see some of the other aspects of this, so the first one is 100 billion, as I've told you, is the bilateral trade expected to grow in next 5 years. I've told you, and $15 billion worth additional trade and services is also expected in the next 5 years, right? And if we talk about the areas जिन पे हम focus करने वाले हैं या जिन पे हम trade के लिए ज़्यादा बात करने वाले हैं, would be enhanced maritime cooperation, joint steps to fight terrorism with among states. Apart from that, I feel that it will also provide benefits such as enhanced market access and reduced tariff to reduce karna hi hai, because that is again one of the aims of CEPA and FTA, you can say, and also opens up Arab and African markets to Indian sides, right? Now the third part of our today's this particular slide is, I told you कि हम India के perspective से UAE का location देखेंगे. So as you can see here, this is India, right? If we go towards west, we will see Arabian Sea comes here, ठीक है? उसके बाद यहाँ पर UAE आता है, and if you see here, there is another water body which we will witness here, which is Persian Gulf. Remember, for our examination perspective, all the water bodies are really important. जितने भी हम continents पढ़ते हैं, continents पढ़ रहे हैं या countries पढ़ रहे हैं, कुछ भी पढ़ रहे हैं, especially which are there in news for longer time, we must ensure कि जितने भी water bodies हैं around them, we also prepare them well. So here Arabian Sea and Persian Gulf. So people at times get confused with the location of this Persian Gulf also. So you can remember through this map. ठीक है, चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. Next is India's bid for permanent membership in reform UNSC NSG. ओके अभी रिसेंटली फ्रांस ने रिपीट करा है, लाइक फ्रांस ने हमें फिर से सपोर्ट किया है फॉर द बिड ऑफ परमानेंट मेंबरशिप इन UNSC एंड आर एंट्री इनटू द NSG विच इज़ न्यूक्लियर सप्लायर्स ग्रुप. एंड दिस वॉज प्रिसाइजली द रीज़न इट वॉज इन न्यूज़. बट हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है सबसे पहले UNSC के बारे में पढ़ना, उसके पूरे स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में भी हम देखेंगे, उसके बाद हम NSG के बारे में भी पढ़ेंगे, एंड दिस परमानेंट सीटिंग एंड एवरीथिंग विल टॉक अबाउट. सो फर्स्ट थिंग, I want all of you to have a look at this, wherein it deals with UNSC structure. ठीक है? So 5 permanent member UNSC has, and those 5 permanent members we all must know is China, France, UK, Russia, and United States of America. And to adopt any resolution or any draft resolution, none of the permanent members should veto it. ठीक है, कोई भी वीटो नहीं करना चाहिए, which means if one of the members says no, the draft, the resolution cannot be passed further, right? And 9 countries should vote in favor. So these are the 2 conditions for any resolution to be passed, right? Then we have, if we talk about certain examples जहाँ पर resolutions pass हुए हैं या नहीं हो पाए हैं, the first would be China and Russia have vetoed 4 draft resolutions Syria के case में since 2011. So they have stopped it, right? Second is US also has done the same, wherein it used its veto 42 times for Israel 1972 से. Right? Palestine के case में भी it has not become the UN member. A full membership requires UNSC approval. China also not just blocked the Syria resolution, they also blocked the Taiwan's resolution, and China is only blocking our way only. So here I have a question for you. That what exactly is stopping us from being there, or what is the opposition? So the opposition precisely is mentioned here, that it is mentioned that it is due to the China's blockage we are unable to be there, because it needs the you can say the approval of all the 5 permanent members. If you talk about the criticism of this structure, so it says the permanent membership system is is one of the biggest criticisms also of this structure, because they only, if one of them doesn't want any approval to get approved in the assembly, they can veto it. So यही exactly इसका criticism भी है. ठीक है. मूविंग बैक, सो इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव में अगर हम बात करें, अगेन इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट फॉर आवर एग्जामिनेशन पर्सपेक्टिव, इंडिया इज़ द फाउंडिंग मेंबर ऑफ यूएन. उसके आगे हम एनएसजी के बारे में भी पढ़ेंगे और उसको हम इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव में भी जानने की कोशिश करेंगे. बट इंडिया हैज़ ऑलमोस्ट ट्वाइस द नंबर ऑफ, ओके, दिस is something which is dealing with this question that why do we why India deserves a permanent seat in UNSC and NSG. Why? Because हम एक founding member रहे हैं of United Nations, right? Second is India has almost twice the number of peacekeepers deployed on the ground than these permanent 5 countries जो हमने अभी देखे. That is why India deserves it well. Next, and the third point could be that India being the largest democracy and second most populous country in the world, this is also could also be one of the reasons that we deserve to be a permanent member of UNSC. And India's acquired status of nuclear weapon state in May 1988 also makes us eligible to be the permanent member of United Nations Security काउंसिल. ओके, अनडिस्प्यूटेड लीडर भी हैं हम, ठीक है. हमारा कोई भी आज तक ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा डिस्प्यूट देखा नहीं गया है. वी ऑल्सो बिलोंग टू NAM, नॉन अलाइंड मूवमेंट, राइट. सो दिस NAM, since we followed NAM, this exactly proved how we are a undisputed leader in the entire global community. Okay, this we have already dealt with. If we talk about the benefits associated with the NSG membership, suppose if we get this membership, India is not a part of it, but if we get it, what could be the benefits benefits of it? First is timely information मिलेगा हमें जितने भी nuclear matters हैं उन पे. ये तो information के regarding ही काफ़ी important है, and it can also act as an instrument of harmonization and coordination, right? So if we talk about, now let's talk about NSG, Nuclear Suppliers Group, what exactly this group is, और क्या exactly India का stand है और कहाँ पर चीज़ें ब्लॉक हो रही हैं जिसकी वजह से we are unable to get up that position. So NSG is nothing but a group of 48 nations who control the global nuclear trade according to guidelines based on non-proliferation norms, ठीक है. And you need to remember कि इसके जितने भी judgments होते हैं they are non-binding, ठीक है. नॉन बाइंडिंग जजमेंट्स होते हैं. दिस इज समथिंग यू नीड टू रिमेंबर, राइट. And we have this Chinese opposition. I have already discussed it with you, that if India has to become a part of NSG, the member nations must unanimously agree to it, all the P5 members. But standing between India and NSG entry is Beijing. ठीक है. Beijing is believed to be backing Pakistan and has made India signing the NPT, which is Non-Proliferation Treaty, a precondition to the NSG, which is Nuclear Suppliers Group. में अगर हमें entry लेना है, so this is the precondition they have put. Okay, so this is again a point which is important from our mains perspective. Ki this could be a question that what are the blockages we are facing, right? So, and these the countries in blue, these are the member countries of NSG. So as you can clearly see here, we are not the member. China is a member. Russia is also a member. Australia is a member. So these are the members. Canada, US, all these are the member countries of NSG. We are not the member, right? Chaliye. Up next, we have World Food Program. Next topic belongs to economy. World Food Program. World Food Program recently, why it was in news, because United Nations World Food Program has said that it is in discussions with India on procurement of wheat. We all know कि Russia-Ukraine war के बाद wheat का जो availability है, it got decreased to a drastic level, and to bridge that gap, they have asked us, India, to supply wheat. That is why it was in news, and it was also a very good opportunity to be utilized by our country. Okay. Up next, we have कि UNWFP होता क्या है. So this World Food Program is the food assistance branch of United Nations, और ये वर्ल्ड का सबसे लार्जेस्ट ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है which addresses the hunger problem in our country, and not just the hunger problem it addresses, it also addresses the malnutrition problems, it also addresses or it also helps in reducing the child mortality, child malnutrition, and stunting, wasting. It helps in all of those things as well, apart from, and of course this is hunger is a bigger part of these points which I've told you, so indirectly it is reducing the hunger only, but just in case to give you a better clarity, it is a member of United Nations Development Group and a part of its executive committee. It also works closely with the two United Nations agencies. First is FAO, that is just have a look. Yeah, FAO, and so these are the two bodies it works with, FAO and IFAD. Okay, IFAD. दिस बेसिकली दोनों का ही रोम में जो है आपका हेडक्वार्टर है. FAO डील्स विद द पॉलिसी मेकिंग pertaining to the which sector? Agriculture sector, right? And IFAD deals with the finances to what? To the rural population or to the rural areas. तो इन दोनों ही बॉडीज के साथ मिलके दिस UNWFP basically works. That was all you need to remember about World Food Program. Up next we have Monetary Policy Committee. Very important topic, has been asked by UPSC, and they can ask you again, well, what is the present context जिसकी वजह से we are reading this topics. Recently Central Board of Directors of RBI has approved the nomination of Rajiv Ranjan as ex officio member of MPC. MPC के पूरे स्ट्रक्चर और इसके पूरे फंक्शंस के बारे में आज हम समझेंगे. सबसे पहले MPC के बारे में देख लेते हैं. रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट ऑफ 1934 was amended by the Finance Act India 2016 to constitute Monetary Policy Committee, and it has been instituted by the central government of India under section 45ZB of the RBI Act that was amended in 1934. If we talk about the functions, it is entrusted with the responsibility of deciding the different policy rates, including repo rate, reserve rate, repo rate, reverse repo rate, CRR, which is cash reserve ratio. ठीक है, तो इन सब चीज़ों में ये काम करता है. You all must have heard about fiscal policy. ठीक है, तो देर इज़ अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन फिजिकल एंड मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. मैं चाहती हूँ कि इन दोनों में आपको कन्फ्यूजन नहीं होना चाहिए. दैट इज़ वाई आई हैव अ टेबल फॉर यू वेर इन वी हैव clearly differentiated between fiscal policy and monetary policy. Let me just take you to it. And also we will read about the composition of MPC. MPC के composition के बारे में ही UPSC ने question भी पूछा था. So just move with me. So the composition, if we talk about, it has 6 members, जहाँ 3 members belong to the government and 3 members belong to the RBI, and governor is the chairman of the committee, right? So this much only you can remember. So like I was telling you, there is a difference between fiscal policy and monetary policy, and students often get confused between these two terms. So in very simple language, if I tell you fiscal, when you hear about fiscal, na, you just associate it with the government, and when you hear about monetary, associate it with the RBI. राइट ये एक बहुत सिंपल डिस्टिंक्शन है इन दोनों टर्म्स में, जो कि आप नॉर्मली याद रख सकते हैं. डेफिनेटली देर आर सर्टन डिटेल्स एज वेल. डिस्टिंक्शन में हम डिटेलिंग भी पढ़ेंगे, बट दिस वेरी लूसिड डिफरेंस, इट बिलोंग्स टू गवर्नमेंट एंड दिस बिलोंग्स टू RBI. Right, now let me just read them out for you. Fiscal policy is nothing but a money policy of the government, that is generation of money and expenditure of money, wherein monetary policy is concerned with the supply of money, that is controlling inflation, ठीक है, and ensuring liquidity. हमें पता है inflation जो है RBI control करता है through repo rate and reverse repo rate, right? RBI keep on increasing and decreasing them in order to control the inflation, right? So monetary policy belongs to the RBI, and the tools of monetary policy, you can say, are the repo rate and the reverse repo rates. It has two sides, income and expenditure, wherein when we talk about the monetary policy, it has two sides, which is demand and supply. So market based hota hai wo, right? Next we have, it is generally formulated by the executive, that is Ministry of Finance, wherein monetary policy is formulated by central bank of our country, that is Reserve Bank of India. Next, its main tool is budget, through which government tries to bring dynamism in the country. और यहाँ पर इसके जो मेन टूल्स हैं वो हम ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. नेक्स्ट वी हैव एक्सपेंडिचर रिफॉर्म्स, जो है इसका FRBM एक्ट, एंड द इनकम साइड रिफॉर्म इज GST. और यहाँ पर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म्स ये मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी के थ्रू ही जो भी हैं आए हैं, राइट. आई एम नॉट गेटिंग इनटू द डिटेल्स ऑफ दीज वर्ड्स हियर, रेपो रेट, रिवर्स रेपो रेट, ओपन मार्केट ऑपरेशंस, because you will read them in your economic classes, so no need to tell you getting into the details of all these words. So the next question could be, I am just trying to get into a little detail of this particular segment, because UPSC has asked question about this, and there is a possibility it might ask you again. So selection and term of the member भी हम यहाँ पर पढ़ेंगे. Selection कैसे होता है members का, MPC committee का. So selection, the government nominees to MPC will be selected by a search cum selection committee. So there is a search cum selection committee which helps in the selection of the MPC members under the cabinet secretary. So this post you have to remember, with the RBI governor and economic affairs secretary, and 3 experts are there. So 3 experts also you have to remember in the field of economics or banking or finance or monetary policy as its member. जो उनका term होता है, term is of 4 years, and the next question could be if they are eligible to be reappointed. So they are not eligible for any reappointment. All right. How the decisions are made? The decisions are made by so there is a majority decision, ठीक है, with each member having a veto. But what is the RBI governor's role? Since RBI governor is the chairman of the MPC committee, he or she holds a very important role in the committee, which is the governor, though will not enjoy any veto power to overrule the panel members, but have a casting vote. ठीक है, अगर कोई भी टाई हो जाता है तो चेयरमैन के पास ये पावर होती है कि वो अपनी कास्टिंग वोट कास्ट करके उस टाई को ब्रेक कर सके, राइट. So this was about monetary policy. Up next we have science and technology and a very important topic, net grid. Net grid is National Intelligence Grid. Just 2-3 things we need to remember about this topic. First, what exactly net grid is, ठीक है, और क्या इसका basically function है, and there are certain criticisms also related to net grid. We will also be analyzing those criticisms also. So net grid, recently Union Minister for Home and Cooperation recently inaugurated net grid. कहाँ पर? Bangalore में. So this place also you have to remember. They might confuse you with some other place. So Bangalore you have to remember. Net grid है क्या? ये एक mechanism है to basically track the suspects. हम सबको पता है I think after Mumbai attack, this body was basically formed. तो suspects को track करने के लिए it can also help in preventing the terror attack. So basically वो terror attack को prevent करने के लिए ही इस body को form करा गया था. NIA को भी बनाया गया था at that time only. So and it will have a real time data and access to classified information like immigration, banking, individual taxpayer और train travel, सब information इनके पास होगा. Who can access the data and what are the criticisms? Criticisms deal करने से पहले हम कौन-कौन data को access कर सकता है वो पढ़ लेते हैं. Data को access कर सकता है CBI, ED Central Board of Indirect Taxes, Customs, CBDT Central Bureau of Direct Taxes, we all know, ठीक है, और DRIB, this is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, right? Cabinet Secretary, IB, Directorate General of GST Intelligence, NCB, Financial Intelligence Unit और NIA, ये कुछ बॉडी हैं जो नेट ग्रिड के डेटा को एक्सेस कर सकती हैं और यहीं पर इसका क्रिटिसिज्म भी लाई करता है. द क्रिटिसिज्म सेज दैट द स्टेट पुलिस डज नॉट हैव द एक्सेस टू नेट ग्रिड. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए कहा भी जाता है कि टेरर एक्टिविटीज़ को ये कंट्रोल अच्छे से नहीं कर पाती है क्योंकि स्टेट पुलिस का कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं होता है और स्टेट पुलिस कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर पाती है क्योंकि उनके पास एक्सेस नहीं होता है. इसलिए कई बारी ये बॉडी एफिशिएंटली काम नहीं कर पाती है. दिस इज व्हाट प्रिसाइजली द क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ दिस बॉडी. राइट, 2008 में आया था, लाइक आई हैव टोल्ड यू, मुंबई अटैक्स के बाद NIA भी उसी टाइम पे आया था. एंड इट इज इंटेलिजेंस शेयरिंग नेटवर्क दैट कोलेट्स डेटा फ्रॉम वेरियस एजेंसीज एंड फ्रॉम वेरियस मिनिस्ट्रीज विच हेल्प्स इन ट्रैकिंग द सस्पेक्ट. Okay, how is it done? It will be connected to 10 user agency and 21 service providers in the first phase with an additional 950 entities joining later phase. So that is, I don't think this is a really important point to be remembered, but yeah, these two things. Now, the next question is the criticism, like I've told you. So the first criticism deals with, or the first criticism is about privacy. ठीक है, प्रिवेसी इस नेट ग्रिड में एक आप बोल सकते हो कहीं ना कहीं एक इशू रहता है. ठीक है, सेकंड इज स्टेट पुलिस वाला जो मैंने आपको बताया कि स्टेट पुलिस को एक्सेस ही नहीं होता है तो किसी भी स्टेट में क्राइम होता है, इफ द स्टेट पुलिस ओनली इज अनअवेयर ऑफ इट और डज नॉट हैव प्रॉपर एक्सेस टू दैट पर्टिकुलर क्राइम, आई डोंट थिंक यू कैन इमेजिन टू गेट इट सॉल्व ऑन टाइम, चाहे बेशक कितनी भी एजेंसीज के पास उसका एक्सेस हो. एंड देन वी हैव लीकेज ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंशियल पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन, ये भी काफ़ी बार देखा गया है. देन वी हैव इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज ऑल्सो हैव एक्सप्रेस ऑपोजिशन. ये इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज ने खुद इसको लेके कुछ मतलब ऑपोजिशन करा है, अपोज करा है इस पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम को, क्योंकि कई बार ये भी देखा गया है कि जो लीड्स होते हैं, जो लीड लोगों को मिलते हैं, जो लीड इन ऑफिसर्स को मिलते हैं, वो भी लीक हो जाते हैं. सो दीज वर सम ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स which these intelligence agency witnessed. ठीक है, so these are the criticisms of this policy. Moving ahead, ISRO mission to Venus. ISRO के जितने भी मिशंस हैं, अगेन इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर आवर एग्जामिनेशन. यूपीएससी बहुत डिटेल में नहीं पूछता है, स्पेशली द मिशंस, बट अगेन अगर कोई इंपॉर्टेंट है और काफ़ी न्यूज़ में भी है, सो आई वांट कि उसके कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स यू मस्ट जॉट डाउन, यू मस्ट रिवाइज बिफोर योर प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन स्पेशली. सो आज उन्हीं में से एक मिशन के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे, विच इज़ अ मिशन टू वीनस. अलॉन्ग विद दैट वी विल ऑल्सो सी सम ऑफ द वीनस मिशंस जो कि नासा ने भेजे हैं, तो वो नाम आपके लिए ज़रूरी हो जाते हैं. इसरो के मिशंस का थोड़ा डिटेलिंग ज़रूरी है बिकॉज इट बिलोंग्स टू आवर कंट्री. नासा के जो मिशंस हैं उनका आप नाम भी याद रख सकते हैं क्योंकि इतना डिटेल में आई डोंट थिंक वो पूछेंगे, बट just one line about that, what is it all about, the mission is all about, and then of course the name that it belongs to NASA. So after sending the mission to Moon and Mars, ISRO is now readying a spacecraft to orbit Venus to study what lies below the surface of the solar system hottest planet, which is Venus. ठीक है, and also to unravel the mysteries under sulfuric acid clouds enveloping it. Okay, now these are some of the historic missions जो वीनस पे भेजे गए हैं. सबसे पहला है मैगलन, जो कि नासा का एक मिशन था. इट एंडेड इन 1994. देन नेक्स्ट वी हैव वीनस एक्सप्रेस. आई डोंट थिंक इसका तो नाम याद रखने में भी कोई प्रॉब्लम होगा. इट वाज सेंट फॉर टू स्टडी द एटमॉस्फेयर ऑफ वीनस. देन वी हैव अकात्सुकी. इट वाज अ जापानीज स्पेसक्राफ्ट जो वीनस पे भेजा गया था टू अगेन स्टडी द एटमॉस्फेयर ऑफ इट. देन वी हैव नासा मिशन. नासा के जो कुछ मिशन हैं उसमें से सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है दाविंची मिशन, जो अभी रिसेंटली भी काफ़ी न्यूज़ में था. दाविंची स्टैंड्स फॉर डीप एटमॉस्फेरिक वीनस इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑफ नोबल गैस, केमिस्ट्री एंड इमेजिंग. सो अगेन उसके एटमॉस्फेयर को, गैसेस को, ठीक है, एंड इफ वाटर इज प्रेजेंट, all these things, to read about all these things, Da Vinci was sent by NASA. But what you need to remember is that Da Vinci belongs to NASA, is a NASA mission. Okay. just few things about this planet. We know it is the second planet of our solar system. Okay, hottest planet we have already read. It has no moon, so you need to remember this. It is the brightest planet in the sky, and the size and the mass and the average density of the planet Venus are about the same as that of Earth. Okay, just few factual points about Venus. Nothing more than that you need to remember. Moving ahead, let us read about our environment current affairs also. And the first topic of environment is CAG report on Sundarbans. Controller and Auditor General का एक report आया है Sundarbans के ऊपर. What is that report? What are the highlights of the report? And we will and also Sundarbans के बारे में भी हम थोड़ा जानेंगे. CAG has pointed out an illegal construction and violation of environmental norms to Ramsar sites. Ramsar, we know, is a city. ठीक है? Is a city. Ramsar is a city in Iran. जहाँ पर ये convention हुआ था. The convention is called Convention on Wetlands. And this convention happened in 1971. ठीक है? So they have seen an illegal construction and violation of environmental norms in two Ramsar sites where in West Bengal. ठीक है? First is East Kolkata wetlands and next is Sundarbans. हमारे लिए Sundarbans काफ़ी important हो जाता है. I'm not saying East Kolkata wetlands is not important, but Sundarbans क्योंकि UPSC has asked time and again questions over Sundarbans, so हमारे examination point of view के लिए काफ़ी important हो जाता है. What does the rule says? Rule of course says that you cannot construct you cannot construct anything in that site. ठीक है, कोई भी coastal development आप नहीं कर सकते हो वहाँ पर. If we talk about the issues and challenges, issues definitely there are so many issues. अगर आप किसी भी biodiversity area में, इतने rich area में construction करोगे, it could be a huge problem. The first is short-term gains. See, coastal development या फिर infrastructure development की अगर हम बात करें, infrastructure development, इन चीज़ों की वजह से जो शॉर्ट टर्म गेन्स लोगों को मिल रहे हैं जो वहाँ पर बना रहे हैं, बट ये एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है क्योंकि लॉन्ग टर्म हम बहुत सारा लॉस भी कर रहे हैं. सेकेंड इज फ्लोरा एंड फौना. इन दिस पर्टिकुलर रीजन वी ऑल नो दैट वी फाउंड अ लॉट ऑफ रेयर एंड एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, राइट? और इन्हीं एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज को काफ़ी खतरा है इस रीजन में बिकॉज ऑफ द कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटीज हैपनिंग हियर और द डेवलपमेंटल एक्टिविटीज हैपनिंग हियर. ऑलराइट, नेक्स्ट इज द कॉन्टिन्यूड लॉस ऑफ शोरलाइन मैंग्रोव इकोसिस्टम विच इज हैपनिंग हियर, जिसकी वजह से बायोडाइवर्सिटी को काफ़ी ज़्यादा थ्रेट पहुंच रहा है, राइट? So these are some of the issues and challenges which you can quote in your mains examination pertaining to any environmental topic, I suppose. Okay. So, if we talk about Sundarbans, these are some facts which you can remember regarding Sundarbans. First is Sundarbans has largest mangrove forest in the world. The first and the most important factual point जो आपको याद रखना है. Then Sundarbans was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1987. Don't remember the year, but you have to remember that it is a UNESCO's World Heritage Site and could become Ramsar site also, which it has already. So 4,260 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर्स का एरिया है सुंदरबंस का, ठीक है? एंड वेटलैंड एरिया इसमें से 125 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का वेटलैंड एरिया है. इट इज़ अ होम टू अबाउट 100 रॉयल बंगाल टाइगर्स एंड नॉट जस्ट रॉयल बंगाल टाइगर्स, इट इज़ ऑल्सो अ होम टू इरावडी डॉल्फिन भी आपको इस एरिया में मिलते हैं, ठीक है? Again, a very important species for our examination perspective. 26 Ramsar sites in India are there, including East Kolkata wetlands. But क्योंकि ये data update होता रहता है, this has been updated now. There are 54 Ramsar sites in India. You also update it in your notes, please. Now and then after that, we have 43 of the India's mangrove cover in Sundarbans. ठीक है? This is the India's map जहाँ पर Sundarbans located है in the West Bengal, and this is the zoom करके जो हमने map लगाया हुआ है. Alright. Up next we have a next topic. Again a very debatable topic, stubble burning. Stubble burning का जो issue है again काफ़ी सालों से चलता आ रहा है. Context समझेंगे, साथ के साथ ये जानेंगे what stubble burning is, what are the advantages and disadvantages stubble burning holds. Okay. So with the wheat yield down this year, the rate of today is very high, and farmers can earn huge profit by selling it. But despite that, 3,895 field fires have been reported from April 1 to 29 in Punjab. ये पंजाब हरियाणा वाले रीजन में ही आपको ज़्यादा देखने को मिलता है. What exactly it is actually a very common practice done by a farmer. Actually क्या होता है कि सोइंग ऑफ वीट जो कि हम नवंबर के आसपास करते हैं, इन द मंथ ऑफ नवंबर, इस टाइम में, एंड हार्वेस्टिंग ऑफ पैडी. ठीक है, तो पहले हम हार्वेस्ट पैडी को करते हैं और उसके बाद वीट उगाने का टाइम आता है. इन दोनों पीरियड के बीच में जो टाइम होता है वो काफ़ी कम होता है, राइट और फार्मर्स को अपना फील्ड क्लियर करना होता है, तो उनके पास एक बहुत इजी और चीप ऑप्शन होता है कि जो भी स्टबल है उसको वो बर्न कर दें. बट उसके बहुत सारे डिसएडवांटेजेस भी होते हैं जो हम आज के सेगमेंट में केटर करने वाले हैं. बट पहले हमें समझना पड़ेगा व्हाई डू फार्मर्स ऑप्ट फॉर स्टबल बर्निंग. द फर्स्ट थिंग वुड बी इट इज़ फार्मर्स के पास इतने ऑल्टरनेटिव्स नहीं होते हैं कि वो कोई और ऑप्शन यूज करे. द फार्मर्स आर इल इक्विप्ड टू डील विद द वेस्ट बिकॉज दे कैन नॉट अफोर्ड द न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी विच इज अवेलेबल. ठीक है. थर्ड इज लेस इनकम ड्यू टू क्रॉप डैमेज. तो क्रॉप डैमेज भी बहुत हो जाता है जिसकी वजह से इनकम बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी हो नहीं पाती है एंड दे आर अनेबल टू मैनेज द स्टबल, और स्टबल मैनेजमेंट हो नहीं पाता है. देन व्हाट आर दी एडवांटेजेस ऑफ स्टबल बर्निंग. स्टबल बर्निंग के कुछ एडवांटेजेस भी हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल द फर्स्ट एडवांटेजेस, इट इज़ चीप एंड क्विक. जल्दी से आप जला देते हो सब इकट्ठा करके, और ये बहुत चीप भी होता है. अलॉन्ग विद इट इट किल्स द वीड्स. कुछ हार्मफुल वीड्स हमारे फील्ड में होते हैं. द स्टबल बर्निंग किल्स दोज हार्मफुल वीड्स अलॉन्ग विद pests, some harmful pests as well. So this is the second advantage of stubble burning. When we talk about the third advantage which stubble burning holds is that it can reduce the nitrogen tie-up. These are some of the advantages which stubble burning has. If we talk about the impacts or the disadvantages of the stubble burning, तो ये तो बहुत सारे हैं. I think there is no end to it. But anyways, pollution is one which both the states, especially the Delhi NCR region, faces during winters. So pollution and due to the release of many gases like, for example, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and particulate matters, and along with a lot of carcinogenic compounds. ठीक है, ये सब रिलीज होते हैं जिसकी वजह से ऑफ कोर्स एटमॉस्फेयर गेट्स इम्पैक्टेड एंड इज़ वेरी हार्मफुल फॉर आर हेल्थ एज वेल. सॉइल की फर्टिलिटी भी डिक्रीज होती है बिकॉज वी बर्न, और उसकी वजह से क्या होता है, मॉइस्चर जो होता है प्रेजेंट इन आवर सॉइल इट गेट्स रिड्यूस, एंड जो कुछ यूजफुल माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स भी होते हैं इन आवर सॉइल, दे ऑल्सो the number of the microorganisms also reduced, or they also get killed, जिसकी वजह से soil की fertility भी काफ़ी कम हो जाती है. Then next is heat penetration. When we burn the stubble, तो जो heat उससे release होता है, it penetrates into the soil, जिसकी वजह से soil का moisture कम हो जाता है, leading to the less or you can say soil infertility. तो soil fertile कम हो जाती है due to this heat penetration, right? Next is, what are the alternative solutions that can avoid the stubble burning? What are the alternative solutions? Though there are so many alternative solutions, I believe, but again the problem is if a farmer can afford it or not. So this is the question which is to be thought upon. The first alternative we have is we can promote paddy straw based power plants. ठीक है, जिसकी वजह से पैडी के जो स्ट्रॉ हैं उनको हम कहीं ना कहीं दूसरी जगह हम यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं. कंपोस्ट हम कर सकते हैं. एक स्टबल को सारी स्टबल को वी कैन कलेक्ट इट एट अ प्लेस. वी कैन यूज काउ डंग्स और अदर नेचुरल मेन्योर्स, ताकि जिससे हम कंपोस्टिंग कर सकें और फिर आगे वी कैन यूज इट एज अ मेन्योर इन आवर फील्ड, जिससे we'll get our manure also and the stubble problem would also be resolved. Then we have better plant growth. Better plant growth, what do we mean by better plant growth? That if we collect it and use the stubble in such a way, after composting and everything, the growth of the plant would be better. Of course, the fertility would be better. Now, this is something which you have to, if the topic of stubble burning comes, you can quote it, you can definitely write it, you can definitely quote it in your mains examination, which is Chhattisgarh model of stubble burning, which is known as Gauthan model. ठीक है, इसमें क्या करते हैं, basically 5 acres of land, एक पूरा village, एक इंटीग्रेटेड सब लोग मिलके एक 5 एकड़ की लैंड को, एक 5 एकड़ की ज़मीन को रखते हैं और वहाँ पर दे कलेक्ट द स्टबल, पूरे गांव का स्टबल वो उसी 5 एकड़ ज़मीन पे कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं, एंड देन दे बर्न इट, and sorry, they don't burn it actually, they convert them into compost, which I have just told you, in a technique of composting wherein they mix cow dung and various natural enzymes so that it turns into manure, which can further be used into the fields, right? These are some of, again, the impacts of residue burning, which is global warming, which we have discussed, because a lot of harmful gases released in the atmosphere leading to the global warming. Then we have emission of greenhouse gases, we've already talked about. Then release of soot particles causing smoke, जो कि विंटर्स में काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम करता है. स्मोक हेल्थ हजार्ड्स भी होते हैं, ह्यूमन की हेल्थ को काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट होता है. एज आई ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कि बहुत सारे कार्सिनोजेनिक, कैंसर कॉजिंग एजेंट्स या कैंसर कॉजिंग कंपाउंड्स भी दे आर ऑल्सो गेट रिलीज्ड व्हेन वी बर्न द रेजिड्यू. सो दिस इज अगेन अ प्रॉब्लम. देन वी हैव लॉस ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी एज वेल. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, कार्बन का भी लॉस होता है. सॉइल का फ्लोरा फौना, सॉइल में जो नेचुरल एंजाइम्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं उनका भी कहीं ना कहीं लॉस होता है. दिस ऑल्सो रिड्यूसेस द सॉइल फर्टिलिटी, वी हैव डिस्कस. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, दिस ऑल्सो रिड्यूसेस द सॉइल मॉइस्चर, and then loss of plant nutrient also happens, or the loss of biodiversity, as we have discussed, also happens due to the burning of residue. All right, this was all about this topic. Up next we have International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Recently क्या हुआ है, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, in partnership with the United Nations Agency for International Development, has commenced the International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure 2022. We will hear in our today's lecture understand about what CDRI is. That is what Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. ये एक मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप है ऑफ नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स, यूनाइटेड नेशन एजेंसीज एंड प्रोग्राम्स एंड मल्टीलैटरल डेवलपमेंट बैंक्स एंड प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व हैं. और ये बेसिकली डिजास्टर्स को ही प्रिवेंट करने के लिए काम करता है. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट सेंडाई फ्रेमवर्क फॉर डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, सेंडाई फ्रेमवर्क के बारे में आप सबने सुना होगा. इट हाईलाइट्स हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इज डिजास्टर रेजिलेंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज फॉर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है, कि डिजास्टर रेजिलेंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का होना कितना ज़रूरी है to prevent any kind of disaster in future, and it has 4 targets. The Sendai framework I'm talking about, Sendai framework has 4 targets. So Sendai framework, you don't have to forget that it deals with making disaster resilient infrastructure at any place. The first target is to reduce global disaster mortality. To reduce global disaster mortality. which means कि number of deaths जो हो रहे हैं they should be reduced. हम ऐसा infrastructure बनाएं. Next is to reduce the number of affected people. Reduce the number of affected people. Only when we will make such resilient infrastructure which can prevent the disaster, we will be able to save our people from getting affected from such disasters. The third is reducing the direct disaster economic losses. So reducing the economic loss. इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस कम होने चाहिए, और वो कम तभी होंगे जब हम एक बारी हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अपना इस्टेब्लिश कर दें और उसके बाद हमें डिज़ास्टर की वजह से वो प्रॉब्लम ना हो, उसको कोई भी डिज़ास्टर डैमेज टू. द फोर्थ टारगेट इज रिड्यूसिंग द डिज़ास्टर डैमेज टू रिड्यूसिंग द डिज़ास्टर डैमेज टू critical infrastructure. Right, so these are the 4 targets which Sendai framework has. Okay, coming back to our slide. So yeah, that was all I think you need to remember about this particular segment. Next we have is Global Report on Food Crisis 2022. Again, the first question would be who releases this report. So the body you have to remember. These facts you have to remember. कुछ इनमें समझने का नहीं है, just that you need to memorize them. So Global Report on Food Crisis were recently released by GNAFC, which is Global Network Against Food Crisis. What does this report says? It says कि around 40 million, which is a huge number, 40 million more people globally experience acute food insecurity at crisis or worst level in 2021 than 2020. तो 2020 के comparison में अभी चीज़ें और worst हो गई हैं. This is what this report has to say. Next is over 500,000 of Ethiopians, Southern Madagascar, South Sudanese and Yemenis are suffering from acute insecurity. So these are the countries which are facing major insecure food insecurities. What are the reasons for this kind of crisis? The reason for this kind of crisis is first is the conflict. What do we mean by conflict? This conflict has forced 139 billion people in 24 countries. It has forced 139 billion people in 24 countries into what? Into a trap of acute food insecurity. Apart from conflict, the second reason is extreme weathers, which has forced how much? 23 billion people in 8 countries into the acute food insecurities. Then what should be done? Of course, such integrated approach should be taken so that these kind of things does not happen, and we so that we'll be able to overcome the malnutrition and the acute hunger problem. But the body who released this report, which is GNAFC, what is it? It is founded by the European Union only and FAO and WFP. These are the 3 bodies जिन्होंने तीनों ने मिलके ये 2016 में ये body को form करा था, which released this report recently, right? What is the Food Security Information Network? ये एक global initiative है which is co-sponsored by which organization? Food and Agriculture Organization, which is FAO, जिसका headquarter इटली में है और रोम में है. WFP, World Food Program and International Food Policy Research Institute. यहाँ पर कुछ factual points है regarding FAO. Again, I've told you the headquarter lies in Italy, in Rome. It was founded in 1945. There are 197 member states in this particular organization, right? And the motto is "Let there be bread for everyone." And to defeat the hunger and improve the nutrition and food security is the major goal of this organization. And it is governed by the Biennial Conference 49-member Executive Council. So this was about this particular topic. अगर मैं कुछ यहाँ पर I have put some of the charts wherein we will see कि कौन सी countries में चीज़ें बहुत ज़्यादा ख़राब हैं. So the first country which holds this worst position is Democratic Republic of Congo. आपको ज़्यादातर African countries आपको यहाँ पर देखने को मिलेंगी. So you can say this maroon color depicts emergency कि emergency like situation in countries में है. तो emergency like situation lies in Democratic Republic of Congo. Then अफगानिस्तान में भी situation काफ़ी ख़राब है जहाँ पर 8.7 million लोग जो हैं is under this acute hunger problem. ठीक है. And then Ethiopia, Yemen, ये आप दो तीन कंट्रीज़, ऊपर वाले दो तीन कंट्रीज़ आप याद रखें. आपको पूरा चार्ट याद रखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. But this means that the country is an emergency. अगर और भी आपको ये ब्राउन कलर, डार्क शेडेड ब्राउन कलर आपको दिखेगा, which means कैटास्ट्रॉफिक कंडीशंस यहाँ पर देखने को मिल गई हैं. हालत यहाँ पर बहुत ही ज़्यादा ख़राब है. ठीक है. ये तो है कुछ ग्लोबल लेवल पे बात. आई थॉट कि since we are dealing with this topic, why not to add some of the graphs जो कि इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव से चीज़ों को डील करेंगे. इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव को थोड़ा आपको मैं समझाने की कोशिश करना चाहती हूँ यहाँ पर. तो नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे या नेशनल हेल्थ फैमिली सर्वे, इट इज़ नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे. या सो इसकी जो अभी सर्वे नंबर 5 की कुछ रिपोर्ट्स आए थे, कुछ चार्ट्स आए थे. आई थॉट टू पुट देम हियर so that and it will help you for in your both of the examination prelims as well as mains. तो हम ये कुछ charts देख लेते हैं. अनीमिया का सबसे पहला चार्ट है. अनीमिया प्रेवलेंस अमंग द चिल्ड्रन. ठीक है. अंडर 5 ईयर्स से कम बच्चों का जो अनीमिया प्रेवलेंस है वो कौन सा सबसे ज़्यादा स्टेट में है. इट इज़ प्रेवलेंट, द हाइएस्ट लेवल इज़ प्रेजेंट इन असम. देन वी हैव इन मिजोरम, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. अगेन आपको पूरा ये याद रखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. आई वॉन्ट कि आप अपना स्टेट, जस्ट पॉज द वीडियो, ट्राई एंड फाइंड आउट योर ओन स्टेट जहाँ पर आप रहते हो, और उसका जो भी स्टैटिस्टिक्स है, उसका जो भी पोजीशन है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द नेबरिंग स्टेट्स यू कैन रिमेंबर, वो पोजीशन और वो नंबर आप याद रखें. इट विल हेल्प यू इन योर इंटरव्यूज़. ठीक है. तो अनीमिया प्रेवलेंस जो है सबसे ज़्यादा असम और मिजोरम में आपको देखने को मिलेगा अंडर 5 ईयर्स के जो बच्चों का है. ओबीज जो है या ओबेसिटी अमंग चिल्ड्रन, अगेन 0 to 5 ईयर्स की हम यहाँ पर बात कर रहे हैं. द डेटा अगेन बिलोंग्स टू नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे नंबर 5. एंड लद्दाख होल्ड्स द हाईएस्ट पोजीशन जहाँ पर सबसे ज़्यादा बच्चे ओबीज आपको देखने को मिलेंगे. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट Lakshadweep, which is at 8.9 score, then Mizoram, Tripura, again you find your own state and remember that. Next we have is underweight children, again 0 to 5 years का है, belongs to the same family health survey, wherein Nagaland holds the first position. सबसे ज़्यादा underweight आपको वहाँ मिलेंगे. then जम्मू कश्मीर, हिमाचल प्रदेश, केरला, तेलंगाना, असम, लास्ट में आपको महाराष्ट्र में आपको देखने को मिलेगा. नेक्स्ट वी हैव इज वेस्टिंग का ये चार्ट है. वेस्टिंग अगेन, व्हाट इज वेस्टिंग कि जो लो हाइट होती है when we compare it with wasting is low weight, is not height. Wasting is low weight. Low weight जब आपका होता है उसको हम wasting बोलते हैं. But when you have low height उसको हम stunting बोलते हैं. Right? So when you have low weight for height, we call it at wasting, and the highest number is are present in Ladakh, then in Nagaland, Jammu Kashmir, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Lakshadweep. Last one is held by Kerala. Next is stunting. As I've told you, stunting is what? Stunting is low height when we see it with age. So stunting is nothing but low height for age. Okay. And the first position जो कि सबसे ज़्यादा आपको cases हैं is present in Tripura, then Goa, Lakshadweep. Last position is held by Gujarat. Right? Hanji. So that was the last slide of our day. I hope today's lecture is helpful to you. We come to an end of this. We will continue with second week May's current affair in our next lectures. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you so much.